actual conversation. I was incredibly articulate.
You got toilet paper on your heel there.
Hello, and welcome to The Pond, the strangest corner of YouTube, where we analyze Disney villains, do reviews, go into deep dives, and also on YouTube Shorts have a plethora of me showing off my job. These two are part of the Big Mamas. So in a few weeks or a month or so, these two are going to give birth. Aren't you adorable? It's like a slick black dog. I work with cows. I've been at it for 6 months now. Couldn't help but bring a little piece of work with me. It's not just Bullfrog by himself. We also have the Newt.
Face reveal at 100,000 subscribers.
Who's currently, yes, that wasn't a recording. He's currently not here because of school. That awful place where people learn and grow.
You serious?
I've noticed we haven't done a deep dive for a while. Long while. This is a video I've always been wanting to do, and I feel like I can do this right now. And that is, well, writers, how to write conversations. But what are your credentials? What gives you, what knowledge do you have that can help people write down a conversation? I'm a big book reader. I wasn't in a college class of creative writing per se, but some authors who've just read books and done what and not gone to college have done astronomically well. But that is not my credential. My real credential is my language disability.
Go on.
I am born what is called SLI, Specific Language Impairment. Now, this has gone a facelift and it's now under a new name. But America and United Kingdom have different opinions on what this new label is. I'm just sticking with the old label because it's just easy for me.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
And I've been diagnosed with this since the age of 5. And currently I'm around 38 years of age. So this is well over 30 years of how to have a conversation drilled into my skull. Damn! And I'm using the tools that I've gained through speech therapy to help me write for my books, because I'm attempting, keyword attempting, to write a book series. And I thought, why not give this tool out to more people for writing, but also in general. One of these tools is the conversation game.
Go on.
What is the conversation game? It takes conversation to its barest bones for people like me that, well, helped us a whole lot.
Really?
And the barest bones of a conversation is, well, passing a ball. Because it's like playing a game of ball or pickle. It's just one person throwing the ball to another. But a conversation, unlike throwing a ball, has rules. And I'm going to show off these rules. The first rule is sharing. We all have seen ball hogs in sports. And we all know there are ball hogs in conversations. They just like to talk. They don't let the conversation happen. You got to share. Pass the ball. That's really what sharing is. Just passing the conversation to someone else, letting them talk, and then they, in return, throw the conversation back to you. You go back and forth, and thus that is a conversation. Pure, simple, easy, to the point. Bing, bang, boom. And then there's rule 2. And this one has a level to it. And that is exchange. What rule tool is kind of like scuba diving. There's skimming the surface and then there's going down. So skimming the surface, being a part of a conversation or starting a conversation. How was your day? Have you seen that show? How was work? What's the weather? What's happening? What you're doing? These are questions that specifically involve another person to deliver an answer. And according to that answer, you can start a conversation. But it requires a little bit more from that person. If you say, "How is your day?" and they say, "Good," does that mean that's the end of a conversation? That goes into Rule 3, which also has a level to it. Rule 3 is listen. When you ask, "How are you doing?" and they say, "Good," how so? They can go a little bit more details. Listen to those details. When you listen, pay attention. And when you pay attention and listen and repeat Rule 2, the conversation can go deeper. It helps, it goes, it flows. But with listening, there's another level. It's not just listening, it's more than paying attention, it's also being observant. This is high level stakes here. Observing means you have to observe body language, the way how a person is talking. Our nonverbals can actually have a different meaning to what we are saying. And our tones can communicate how a person's feeling and also what they're really trying to say.
Yeah. What do you think? Enjoy. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So conversations are really 70% nonverbal, 20% tone, and 10% of words. Using the levels of observant, paying attention, and listening, and then going back to Rule 2, you can go through various exchanges and levels to a conversation. And that can lead to deep topics, fun stories, or vulnerabilities, or just being casual. It allows a lot to happen. But there are more rules than 1 through 3. We also have Rule 4. Allow the conversation to be a conversation. What does that mean? Conversations are meant to be free. Conversations are meant to spread and go anywhere. This is why I think Joe Rogan is so popular and is considered the greatest interviewer ever. He allows the conversation to be a conversation. I listened to him talking to Kevin James. And with that interview, it begins with comedy, the strategy of comedy, and the location of comedy clubs. Joe Rogan and Kevin James begin there, but then soon they go on veering to UFC fights, how they fight, how they train, to how Kevin James can actually lose weight and gain weight. To then, Joe Rogan is convincing Kevin James to, you know what, there's a better comedy atmosphere here in Austin, Texas. Just leave California and head over here where I am. We are building a comedy club. Come over here. Joe Rogan is becoming a salesman. How did this happen?
I see.
He allowed the conversation to be a conversation. Topics go anywhere and everywhere. That is one of the greatest results of amazing conversations. It could go anywhere. And that is good to let that happen. Don't try to control the conversation. Let it be open. And we know that people who feel like a conversation is going off topic and they want to control it, they will actually interrupt and try to pull the conversation to their liking. These are manipulators, and some of them can be very blunt. And they don't inspire conversations. They actually turn people off from you.
So she doesn't like me?
No. She said that?
Yes.
Let conversations be a conversation. And that does lead to the next rule of the conversation game. Be flexible. Because sometimes these rules allow flexibility if you give flexibility. Someone being a ball hog is annoying, but giving someone the opportunity to tell a story is you're turning someone into a storyteller. There is a difference between the two. You're feeding them, you're getting to know them more, but also you're allowing them to have this story out. And those can lead to interesting subjects and interesting stories and interesting days. What happened at work? A cow got stuck. Wait, how? Oh, it was near the river and we found it. Well, how did you get it out? Did it survive the night? What happened to it? I want to know. That would lead to a good story. That leads to what the heck happened. But don't feed them too much of it, because once they get their story out and have it be done, you can let them steer the conversation to somewhere else or allow the conversation to move. But don't let it linger and steer it back toward them in that way. Let the conversation just go. But remember, it's okay to be flexible, as long as you let that happen and be kind on that exchange. It can help so much. I am an Americana, pure and simple. I mean, you see Star Wars in Florida, though I am located in Utah.
You serious?
America. And this leads to how America is weird with our conversations. We allow invitations, not interruptions. There is a difference between the two. Allowing someone into the conversation is because they heard something and they go, wait a minute, I actually have an eye connection to that subject you're talking about. Really? You have a connection to our subject that we two people are talking about, and you who we do not know? How is it you have a connection to this conversation? Well, it's because of this. The conversation adds on another person. The American rule is weird. It's hard to point out who's being an interruption and who's being invited. It's easy, some Americans can tell. I still struggle with this. I personally feel like I could be an interruption when actually there is an invitation. I still struggle with this. But in a weird country with conversations have this new rule that the rest of the world doesn't have, it puts me and people kind of like me in a weird spot. Do we have an invitation, or is this not allowed? It's a weird rule. The last rule, yes, this is going to be the last rule. Groups. Group conversations are very interesting. When it's 3 to 5 people, everyone can have a chance at the conversation. You have to acknowledge you won't be able to talk some of the times. It's just there. There's a lot of people. But when it's getting more and more people, a lot of us may feel like an audience. But at the same time, a group of people does allow sub-conversations. A group of people will be talking, a lot of us are hovering over, listening, being interested, and someone can go, I disagree with that. How so? We could have a sub-conversation. And if you're talking politely and in the right way, where it's you two are far enough from the group it won't interrupt, but at the same time you're talking softly and being respectful, the group will allow that to happen, because with groups there's a lot of people to the point sub-conversations will happen. But sub-conversations is like small talk. It could be light, or it could go into your own conversation. But with group conversations, you can just let it die out, go back to listening to the group. And that could lead to out of context discussions where you had no context And when you stop and go back to listening, you could just go, what the heck? And that could lead to funny exchanges and also confusing exchanges where all of us can go, what the heck happened? We missed something here. And that could lead to something else or continue to something else. We don't know. It is hilarious. Those were the rules of the conversation game and what I've been growing up with and have drilled in my skull. But with your writing, you can do something flexible, a whole lot more. Deliberately break rules. Have a character be a ball hog because they are. Have a character be a master manipulator. But have the conversation flow easy to the point the reader makes it feels like this was a free conversation. But 5 chapters later, they realize this character is a master manipulator at the best. So they have to go back those chapters they just read and analyze that conversation and see if it was a conversation or was this villain or hero manipulating the whole thing to their advantage. Yes, that requires a whole lot more work and planning, but you can do well. And that's one of the great flexibilities of writing conversations. Breaking rules so your characters can have deeper personalities. It works. And if you know your character and how they would talk and how they would go in this conversation and using these rules for these characters, breaking them, adjusting them, using the conversation out and such, it can lead to interesting avenues. And I hope this helps for writers and people who just went, is that true? Find out. And this is what I've grown up with. And the conversation game has helped me astronomically ever since middle school. And I hope this shines a light and helps you. It's amazing when you analyze and study conversations on how they work and what are the rules. It's very interesting. And this is a subject I have great difficulties in trying to work with it and how to help it. And I hope this also shines a light on with people with what we have. Because with SLI, funny enough, we have a larger population than the people with autism. But we know more about people with autism and how autism is over us. We are more of a mystery. Speech therapists and people studying and understanding how we can help people like me are learning and studying and trying to do more for this group that has no community. There is none. And I hope that this helps other people, writing or otherwise. This is a subject very important to me because it has helped me so much, and even though I still struggle with it, sometimes I have to still remember conversation rules and how to be observant. But I'm way better than I was when I was a kid. That was heavy. But until next time, this is the Bullfrog signing out. To those long-time members of the pond, noticing I haven't mentioned anything about March Madness, here it is. Duke got a 5th seed. Yeah, I know. But they didn't make it to the Final Four. So this puts me and my cousin, Duke fan, at a draw. So I take it we'll have to live with this year. But next year, Duke is not going to get it. I'm going to get that year.